Well, let's try that again. Hi, Denise Dryden here from Whitefish, Montana. And if you're looking at this face, I'm exhausted. I just spent all day yesterday doing the Women's March. So I'm super excited to present all this information to you today. And I had such an experience practicing all of what we're going to talk about today. Hi, Kelly. So glad you're joining me today. Any of the rest of you, if you want to run a question across the bottom of the screen, I'd be more than happy to answer it. So today, what I want to talk about is what happens when we go numb. You know, when we're living life in this disconnected, disassociated, sort of numb place. Well, it happens, and it happens to all of us, and it happens at different times in our lives, and it also can be a constant way of living. And so what I wanted to go through today is that when we have a feeling that makes us really super uncomfortable, and it starts here in our heart, and it's a feeling, and we go like, no way, I'm not going to deal with that. I'm not going there. I refuse. So we get really uncomfortable and we shut down and we start living our life from our brain forward. And we block all of these deeper, richer, intellectual or intelligent emotions that are from our heart. And we start to live on the surface. And what happens is when we live on the surface, we are having relationships with other people in our community, other people at work, the people we're in relationship with, our children. We're having our relationships from a secondary level, a secondary emotion, which is, here's an emotion, and it comes in and it shards off into 5 or 6 or a billion different emotions, and those are the emotions we're having a relationship with. So I thought it was really important today to start with what happens when we go numb. Hi, Melody. And what are we going to do about that? So we go numb because it's too painful. And we know, God, if I feel that, it's going to hurt and I'm not going there. And a lot of us have been feeling these deep, rich feelings. And I think that's by design right now. It's really essential for us to realize that there are feelings there and we don't want to feel them. Fear that it might get really big, bigger than what we know what to do with. Overwhelming. And there's no way I'm going there. You might have to make some changes. Like you might have that little tap, 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 tap. This really isn't working for you. This job, this relationship, this town, this proximity to family. Oh, I got a heart that went across. Yeah, it's like, oh, this is going to require some changes. And I like the way my life is right now. So I'm just going to shut everything down, live in my head, and just keep doing day-to-day life. And the one that I think is enormous is, if I go there, I might be out of control. I might not know what happens. I might not know what to expect is going to happen. And that fear of being out of control, of embarrassing ourselves, falling apart, not being that put together, powerful woman that I put out there, you know, these kinds of things, that's the part that can terrify us is, then I'm out of control. So when I'm talking about secondary and primary emotions, you know, primary emotions are those authentic core ones that when something happens outside, we feel it. And that could be ecstasy. I've got my notes, of course. Ecstasy, joy, love, surprise, sadness, fear, loathing, grief, terror, you know, even rage. These are all really well-known primary emotions. When that comes in, we're like, or there's joy. Well, what happens is when we block these and we sort of live in our heads, we don't access the joy part. We don't access the surprise. We don't access the grief. We don't access the rage or loathing. We just go numb. And then we create all of these patterns of things that hit us, and we have ways of solving. Oh, when that happens, I do this. When that happens, I do this. And we are in relationship, as I said earlier, with people from these secondary emotions, not from our heart. Okay? So what I wanted to say was that these secondary emotions, they're complex. They're pattern driven. They're wild. They're reactive. They're fight or flight stuff. They're not our normal grounded self. They are these emotions that are unpredictable, or even predictable in how reactive we will become. So remember that these are thought-driven, not heart-driven. So reasons that we become numb is that we want to protect ourselves. We don't want to feel those deeper, more maybe painful feelings. We're afraid to feel them. Like I said, we might lose control. We can do this because we're overwhelmed. Too many things at once are coming at me. We're too busy. I will not let myself go there. I don't have the time to lose it or to really have to take a walk and ground myself and do some of the self-soothing that we said. It's a time factor. I'm too busy, which is also one of those things that we do when we're living from our head up. Can't go there. Disconnect and disassociate. We compartmentalize. We block our feelings and our memories. It's an unconscious. It's not like we actually go, I'm going to just zip this shut today and no one's going to see me or feel me from here down. It's that we do it unconsciously as a protection as a protection way, as a unconscious sort of layer. Like, oh, don't get too close because I have something really big here that I want to deal with. So we insulate, we cover up, we self-medicate, we keep people at a distance. And the most important thing I wanted to say on this point is that we manage people. We manage ourselves, we manage people, our spouses, our children, our employees. We manage life. And we're managing it from a theoretical, mind-based, not from a heart-based. And we're not interacting, we're not having soulful connections. What we're doing is we're managing people through life. The reason that we're talking about this today is that when we, as a human being, go numb, what happens is there's these layers that we present, that keeps people away from our heart. And then we're surprised when people in our lives, our children, our partners, our coworkers, that they amplify. They amplify their messages, their behavior, their interactions with us because they're trying to pierce through these deep layers of protection that we have on us. And then we're kind of like, oh my God, they're raising their voice at me. They're acting out. They're doing, I work with parents who have adolescents and young adults who do some really attention getting, or they are really struggling. They're super, super sad with what's going on in their life. And they keep amplifying and raising the stakes to try to get mom and dad to pay attention. And mom and dad are working, or mom and dad are disconnected, or they're afraid to feel, or they're terrified at what's happening and they don't know how to control it. So they get layered and layered and layered, and the kid gets more obnoxious and more driven, or they walk away. They become very separate. They shut down. They give up on you. They don't even want to try anymore. And that's when it's really sad. So the reason we're talking about this too is that if we were to go from a global perspective to the national, to the familial, to the personal, when we are shut down and when we're not paying attention and we're numb and we're living life from our neck up, we live in a world where there's conflicts. There's no interest or ability to see through the conflicts. We live in a world with war. We live in a world where there's abuse of humans, there's abuse of animals, there's abuse of resources, because no one really can access how it feels to really care about those. Nationally, we end up with divisiveness, blame. Those who want to take power because no one's really paying attention. We're all just in our heads doing management, day-to-day management of life. And we get incensed when somebody does something, but we really don't have access to what to do about that. In the familial, we increase our schedules. We get really super busy, so we don't have to sit and feel. We don't have to go like, what's below this line that I refuse to go to? We have patterns of rebellion. We overschedule. And like I said earlier, we have people in our lives who start amplifying to try to get our attention. And for our own selves, we have this unrest. We have this reaction, and we have exhaustion. We also have health issues. We have things that are our bodies telling us, hey, pay attention to me. I'm down here. Come on, look down here. This is where it works. So when we disconnect and all of these things are coming at us, the most natural thing is that this is coming at me. I'm not doing anything. I'm not going there because I'm not going to be in control. I'm going to start deflecting and showing you anger and all of these other outer secondary behaviors. I'm going to blame the world if they would just stop doing this to me. I'm going to, like I said, start manifesting sort of physical ailments, autoimmune issues, things like that, that are our bodies trying to amplify and get our attention. Our relationships start to tip, and then we hold the energy of the victim in our bodies at all times. So knowing that this disconnection of our head, it puts us very firmly into the position of victim, and the world is coming at us. The way to change that is to start accessing those emotions below in your heart. You know, there's meditation, there's self-soothing, there's so many episodes of videos that I've been talking about of how to access this inner self. I brought a carnelian stone, which is this beautiful stone. It's a really deep, rich red blood one, and it's for compassion, self-compassion. Same thing with rose quartz. These are stones that hold us in self-compassion and let us gently go down into some of these really beautiful primary emotions like joy, like surprise. So yesterday when I was marching, I realized that the empath in me was a little overwhelmed. There's a lot of people. And yet, at the same time, when I could access my heart and all I could do was just hold for surprise me. Show me what's possible in this world. Feel joy. I made sure that I stayed very firmly in my primary emotions the whole day, and it was a magnificent experience. And I've been working and training at those primary emotions for a long time, and it's beautiful to know that they're there and that when I can recognize when I'm disconnected. So the lesson for today is that recognize what disassociation, what disconnection feels like. It shows up in your shoulders, it shows up in your neck, it shows up in your body trying to get your attention. Pay attention. When that happens, then start to access what are the deeper emotions underneath that I'm blocking or I'm afraid to feel. And if you want some guidance in that, this is what I do. I'm a strategic coach. I go after short, very goal-focused pieces of what you can do when stuff like this happens. You can find me at DeniseDrydenCoaching.com and have a wonderful Sunday and take care of yourself. Bye-bye.